Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sports fans. Notice I paused there for a second for dramatic effect. Yes. Sports fans, but a lot of spring football fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, the one and only Clay Hall. New day for Clay. You can see him on the internet on what is that, Twitter or X, formerly known as Twitter. Too many people have different names, different numbers, all this kind of thing. Clay, I'm just going to stick with New Day for Clay on Twitter, probably on Instagram, probably on Facebook. But I want to talk about a bunch of things. Go ahead, make a comment, and then we'll jump into it. I was just going to
say there are so many halls, Clayton halls, in Columbus. Every time I check in at the Southwest counter, they get me confused. One Clayton hall played with my son lacrosse and went on to a great financial career. I kind of wish that was me, but he didn't get to share the stage with Tim May. So this actually worked out better.
Dude, no offense.
How about that?
No offense to Clayton Hall, the accountant, but there's no way you would maybe make more money, but there's no way you would trade your career for being an accountant.
Well,
no way.
No, I wouldn't.
I'm going to leave it at that. No discussion.
I wouldn't.
Are you kidding me?
No.
How many times did he get to interview Jack Nicklaus or Ryan Day or Urban Meyer, et cetera, or name any other big name, Jeremiah Smith, right on down the line. Zippo, I think would be the word. Who knows? You might be a huge donor and have dinner with him once a week for all I know. But
yeah. Don't disparage the other Clayton Hall. And there's just several.
Not disparaging him. I'm just talking about accountant or big time TV local sports personality Clay Hall, the real deal.
Yeah, right.
All right. Anyway, let's get to it real quick. We're gonna talk about Ohio State's spring scrimmage we got to watch. We're not going to necessarily talk about the scrimmage. We're going to talk about stuff we saw and stuff that Ryan Day on the Monday as we record this, the Monday after the scrimmage, the Student Appreciation Day scrimmage. That's can't miss for me. Mm-hmm. I got an offer to do radio for 3 hours during that same time span on Saturday. I go, cannot. I'd rather go to that than the spring game.
That might be a first.
No, but I'd rather go to the Student Appreciation Day festivities than the spring game because I think you see more stuff. And you get to mingle with the parents. Got to talk to Julian Sayan's mom for a little while, and just right on down the line. I mean, it was like cool. You know, his high school coach was there, Thad McNeil, from Carlsbad High School. One of my
you go way back.
Well, we go way, but he's one of my favorite people. I don't know. You know when you meet somebody and you kind of click with them. Mm-hmm. Whether I've clicked with him, I don't know, but he definitely he definitely clicked with me in terms of I really like this guy, man. And I was going to give him a commercial idea I thought of for, he also is part owner of a big time pizza place in downtown Carlsbad. And I was going to give him this commercial thing I thought of, but I thought of it after we talked on Saturday is what's the second best place to get pizza in Carlsbad? And have him say, I don't know. I said, yeah, nobody else knows either. They all go to your place.
By the way, I was going to ask you
that commercial could use some work.
Did you charge those students for autographs?
No,
you were signing.
No, it was pretty funny, but that happens.
It's
good
stuff.
I mean, and plus all the ex-players,
former.
I think in their own minds they're still playing a little bit, but God and the authorities took football away from them. But I shook hands with Keith Byers. One of my favorite things to do because his hand envelops. It's like shaking hands with a guy with a first baseman's mitt on.
That's it.
It just envelops you. I said, you got bigger hands than Shaq. And he started laughing. But he was there with Von Broadnax and a couple other guys. Stan Jackson, whose son is Stan Jackson Jr., saw a lot of activity.
I saw
on Saturday with all those running backs missing.
That's true.
We're going to get into that in a little bit. But in this spring, when you're kind of like trying to get a mold for what the team's going to look like in the fall in August, but definitely in the fall, we'll get into that in a minute. But when you got your two starting offensive tackles from last year missing now because of having to get knee scopes or scope surgeries in the middle of spring, I think I broke that little tidbit on Saturday before the scrimmage. I'm talking about Austin Sierveld and Phillip Daniels. You got other guys filling in there, and you're going to hear Ryan Day talk about that. But as much as you want to be developing that line, you also want to be developing depth. And sometimes the good Lord of football comes along and enhances one or the other for you.
Enables you to do that.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
they're missing, 2-3. Padilla's out. Josh
Padilla, who was going to be in the battle for that right guard spot, or maybe backup center. It's really funny. You looked out there on Saturday, second team backup center, or the second team center was our buddy Mason Wilhelm, son of Matt Wilhelm.
That's right.
I guess Matt's our buddy.
Yeah.
But he was out there, and I thought he had a really good scrimmage.
Good for him.
I mean, I don't remember a bad snap. And remember, this guy's never played center.
Right.
He was a tackle and a guard at Lakewood St. Ed's. But his dad was there. His dad was pretty beaming. But, his dad's a former football player who knows you're only getting better or worse. There's no use talking about. You do want to be patted on the back when you've had a good practice, but then now we'll move on.
Yeah.
Get better the next time. But it was just really cool. But we're going to get into that in a little bit. I promised we wouldn't talk much about the national championship game, only because I don't know how much people who watch this podcast really care about it from the standpoint of, well, it's Michigan and somebody.
They'll be rooting for UConn. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, but you know what? You got to give an edge to Michigan only because
I agree.
I think the Big Ten is trying to become the first conference to have the three reigning champions, what you would call the three premier sports in major college, which is women's basketball. UCLA took care of business over South Carolina. Boy, did they stomp South Carolina. It's the same way Michigan stomped Arizona the other night in a game I couldn't wait for. Now, wow, I wish I'd waited. I didn't need to see a massacre. That was a massacre.
No.
But anyway,
both of
and
them.
now Michigan, and of course, Indiana, Ohio State. The Big Ten has won the last three national championships in football. That's the other one of the other three sports. And then the third one, of course, is men's basketball. And Michigan has a chance to make it a sweep for the Big Ten going against UConn as we speak later tonight here on a Monday here in chilly. Is it chilly or cold? Chilly, Columbus, Ohio.
Well, now it's 56. It's not horrible.
Yeah, but man,
you're still jacketed.
I just remember my daughter was born second week of April way back in 1995. And it snowed, I think, 7 or 8 inches that day. So to think that this is all about global warming or whatever, or the ice age. I mean, we've had anomalies before, but I think middle of the week is supposed to get up to like the 70s. So we'll be all right. Got up to 80 last week. And then suddenly that all changed. What I don't mind the temperatures. It's the wind that accompanies these big switcheroos. That's what I don't like. But anyway, who do you like tonight?
Michigan. Yeah, Michigan. Yeah.
Why?
As I gave you on Friday.
Anybody can blurt out Michigan. Why do you like Michigan?
Well, they're just humongous. They're just beastly. And everybody, I mean, Roddy Gale is playing well. The big guy.
I watched a channel the other night where the Fab Five we're doing commentary, kind of like the Peyton brothers do.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because they took quite a few shots at Ohio State during that time. And they said something to, I forgot who said, but hey, Ohio State, thanks for Roddy Gale or something. Here we, our developmental team, we found a way to play him. I'm paraphrasing. It might have been the other way around, but yeah, they were taking shots at Ohio State any chance they could, which was funny.
Well, I'll tell you another.
There was the whole Fab Five, which I thought was kind of
got them together.
Oh yeah, and you know what? Like I think Chris Webber said in the second half, it's a good thing it's a blowout because we've been able to talk about a lot of other stuff other than just the game because there wasn't anything to analyze in the game except there's that Mara kid again. There's that man again, Mom.
Well, they're a peanut allergy away from lose. If they lost their point guard. Kid can he can do it all.
Credo.
He's got the handles. He's got a shot. He can score. He can dish. And he went away for a couple of days after what? How did he acquire that?
I think it was on their.
It was.
I thought it was on their return flight or something like that from. From the. It was something to do with hospitality of some sort, and
but I
he got exposed to peanuts or something.
Yeah, I thought it was fairly close.
That just tells you Ohio State, if he's still there next year, Planters in one side, Virginia, the big Virginia peanuts you can get from like Costco.
Yeah.
Fill up a pocket on the other side and get after it.
Yeah.
But anyway, and But no, dude, you got to give it up to Dusty May and that team. That is that's a bulk team in all kinds of respects.
No question.
But that's the world we live in now.
It is. That's how you play.
Yeah.
That's how you win.
Yeah. It's going to be fun to watch this game though, because Dan Hurley, like him or not like him, that guy is entertaining.
He is.
Before, during, and after games. And boy, did his team rise to the occasion against Illinois. I thought Illinois was the junior version of Arizona. And I thought they had a chance to get to the Final Four. But I thought they were still going to be overmatched because I watched Michigan beat them at Illinois back near the end of the regular season and just handled them when they really needed to handle them, And but boy, Michigan with that Mara kid, he is just every month he has gotten so much better than he was. And just think about UCLA. He was at UCLA last year. If he'd stuck around at UCLA, it might have been UCLA men and women playing for the national championship.
Well, that Michigan team, they're 9 deep, I think, with no issues, putting those other 4 guys in the game.
Correct.
So they just don't run out of talent. I mean, the only, besides the peanut allergy, if Mr. Luxembourg, has problems.
I don't think that's the way you pronounce it, but go ahead.
But I thought it was a ankle. It's a knee, is what I'm.
Well, he kind of twisted a knee. It's you can do both. I mean, he landed funny on that guy's foot and twisted. I think his left ankle has been banged on before. But what you were really curious about, because after you do something like that, you used to play basketball out on the court, right? You'd go up for a layup or something and come down funny on your foot, and you think you've broken your ankle.
Yeah.
When in fact you scared the heck out of yourself,
and it's yellow
because you landed funny.
Yeah, and yellow and purple.
But the way I think Pete Thamel had the goods on the injury, talked to the actual Michigan trainer and said, it's probably a slight ankle sprain, and then maybe a little bit MCL strain up in his knee. And there have been football players that played a whole season on the MCL strain or sprain.
True.
Anyway, sounds like he's going to be okay. Yaxel, what a name, man! What a name. Yaxel Lindenborg, right?
And they didn't even miss him. He was in, out.
They got better without him. Dude, they had matchup advantages across the board, in my opinion, including in the middle. And my good buddy Jeff Snook, he started shaking his head when I was talking about Mara and what Mara meant to that game. This is on Friday when he was making his picks, and I had him on. And just like, sort of like that, shaking his head like Tim May doesn't know what he's talking about. And he was talking about how he didn't see him scoring up to what his season average has been or whatever down the stretch, and blah blah blah. And I said he'll score 15 or more points, and he will rule the middle. I don't know if I used the word rule, but I basically said he's the key to them winning the game. And they scored 27 points, and played. And he also talked about he hadn't played more than 18 minutes. I said he'll play more than 18 minutes. And I said, because this is the national championship semifinal game, you haven't had him. Yeah. Dude, they scored 90 plus in all 5 of their NCAA tournament games going into tonight. A record. No team has ever done that, going back to the dark ages and the light ages, and whatever those ages were when UCLA ruled the roost.
Yep.
No one's ever scored that many points in that many straight games. Of course, UCLA didn't have to play that many straight games back then. Back when Lou Alcindor, soon to be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Bill Walton, everybody et al. Played. But the bottom line is, this is a very good Michigan basketball team. And you got to figure they're going to have to reload next year, because the price of that roster, well, most of those guys you would think would move on, but neither here nor there. I'm looking forward to tonight. Tonight's what matters. Dusty May versus Dan Hurley, but not really. It's those guys in the middle, those guys on the edges against each other, who gets the advantage. So in final analysis, I'll go on the record and say, I think Michigan wins. I don't know what the spread is. I really don't care. I don't gamble, but I had really good info going into that game on Saturday night. I felt good about the way I felt about that game, and I feel the exact same way right now. What's your take?
About this? Yeah, I'm not going to waver. I gave you Friday my little rundown, And
hey,
I think
we're going to get some music. My Little Rundown. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Clay Hall with his My Little Rundown.
I think my only venture into the future that won't pan out is maybe Dusty stays in the state up north. We'll see how this North Carolina thing is weird, because one week it's Billy Donovan, the next week it's Michael Jordan. It just comes and goes, and then Lloyd from Arizona signs a new deal. I'm still very curious what they're going to do. And
what I think didn't you bring it up when you were standing in front of the ladder the other day?
Yeah.
I don't know who came up with that idea.
Yeah, that was a Tim May. That would be a field producer Emmy nomination. He said, play off of the ladder there.
Yeah. Now I'm doing a Dr. Pepper commercial. I didn't mean to do that. Hey, did we talk about number one? Yeah. I mean, I thought you threw that in there.
I did.
Bill Bender had the same kind of throw in, man.
He said one or the other.
Yeah.
And luckily Lloyd signed the deal.
Yeah. Things have been quiet from Chapel Hill,
which took him out of the running. So
there's been no smoke.
I'm good.
There's been no smoke from the athletic department chimney yet about who the successor will be. Right.
Yeah. And so, which leads you to believe they're waiting on the end of this thing here.
Yeah. But Dusty May, he's here's the thing. Like I said on Friday, when Bill Bender was talking about what's in his heart, what's really in his heart. Didn't he grow up in like Indiana? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
So
maybe the Big Ten is
what's in his heart, you know?
I don't know. I'd be going to Carolina.
But it is curious.
It's too damn cold up there.
It's been curious about the lack of reliable or substantial rumors.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think North Carolina makes them, because Dusty May is kind of like Matt Patricia with Ohio State's defense. He came in and immediately sprinkled dust and made the defense better, except, of course, they got beat their last two games. But and they had the lead in those two games and still got beat. So my point is, if you got the lead, you got beat because, number one, the other team scored more than you did when it mattered. But the flip side of it, they were, weird games. But my point is, there was no doubt Matt Patricia brought something new and different to the defense of Ohio State football. Same with basketball coaches. It does matter who your basketball coach is. And then it matters who you go out and get. Look at Arkansas with John Calipari.
Yep. There you go.
It matters who you go out and get. So that would be interesting if that happens. Did I bring this up? Because we were having a discussion before we went on the air here, as you used to like to say in television land. Did I already mention the fact I would like to see the Big Ten win all three of the big championships? I did, right?
Yeah.
Men's and women's basketball and football. Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, would that be the cherry on top of the Sunday?
Well, somebody wrote today, I read, I just saw the headline that it is doomsday in the SEC.
It could be.
It could be.
Now they'll tell you baseball is as big as whatever, but
that's true. And
I'm talking about across the nation and around the world.
By the way, Justin Hare, this guy's got it going here.
Got it going big time.
He's like, I don't
7
care.
in a row. Is that right?
Yeah. And he swept two.
We're talking about Ohio State baseball, ladies and gentlemen.
He swept two Big Ten series. Two. Anyway,
got it going.
I mean, there's been a lot of
got it going.
A lot of lukewarm baseball in between Bob Todd and Justin Hare. So I'm hoping this
I was giving you background music there
can actually make this thing a thing, because college baseball in the North is not. No, it doesn't rate.
But he's gone about it in his own. With his own formula.
Out of Campbell.
Yeah.
University.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the Soups.
So I
think their nickname was the Soups.
I think you're right.
Campbell Soups. They had a big guy in a can running around on the court.
Campbell.
But anyway, we both digressed on that one. But yeah, they got it going on. But you know who's had it going on for a while. And he has a national championship to show for it. And he's working on trying to get back to the national championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Fell short dramatically last year. Is Ryan Day, the head coach of the Ohio State University football team. And we got to watch, like I said earlier, we got to watch my favorite scrimmage of the year, which is a Student Appreciation Day, when he has the students come in and former players are there, parents of the students, and media men like myself and New Day for Clay Hall are there, and I get to stand about as close as you can stand to Julian Sayin without being an official in a game or on the field in the game, like a streaker or something. I get to stand and all the other guys. It's where I first discovered Zeke Elliott was going to be a comet going into his sophomore year, because he went right up the middle for like 50 or 60 yards. It looked like National Trail Raceway. A hole open right in the middle of the field, and he ran straight up the field for a touchdown. I know it was a scrimmage, but it was a sight to behold. Now,
what would you say? We saw 90 minutes or less?
I think we saw a lot. All I know is we saw a lot, and it was situational. Meaning, you had your first teams in there, sometimes ones against ones, ones against twos, whatever. But situational, 1st and 10. You hear the guy screaming on the microphone, or 4th and 3. That was the touchdown pass, I think, to Jeremiah Smith that capped it. Oh, by the way, we'll get to that in a minute. I'll play the video from Ryan that went to further review, and upon further review, the coaches determined
he was clearly.
Yeah. Well, you'll hear him talk about that. He stepped out and then stepped back in. His feet came down in bounds. I think his feet were in bounds when he went to jump, but he might have stepped out just before. I didn't think his heel touched, to be honest with you. I thought his toes were in and his heel was sticking over the line, but not touching when he leaped for the ball. But bottom line is still funny. The offense had to run gassers today. The defense had to run gassers because it looked like the offense had won. But I thought the gassers was based on whether Connor Hawkins made his field goal. I think it was. Yeah.
And who didn't?
So
run?
I don't know why the defense had to run after Connor Hawkins made his field goal against the quote defense, the block team.
Right.
But we'll get, maybe we'll get to the sound with Ryan talking about just the gassers, but also that last play by Jeremiah Smith. But boy, that was as close as you came to bringing the house down, was that touchdown catch, because as I tweeted, you had a Heisman Trophy finalist throwing the ball to basically
Biletnikoff.
No, he didn't win it last year.
But I think
but consensus All-American, that was the word I was looking for. Maybe unanimous All-American, Jeremiah Smith making the catch. I don't know how you can get more phenomenal than that in a spring scrimmage. But I digress. First, let's get to what you and I were talking about, first of all, just about, how you're dealing, how Ryan, number one, the improvement he's seeing in Julian Sayin, the quarterback this spring, and the improvement, a lot of that is just now he knows he's a starter. Everybody knows he's the starter. The coaches know he's the starter. They expect more from him now in this spring from a leadership standpoint.
He's quicker.
And proficiency standpoint. He's always been good about making play calls, in the huddle and whatever. The guy's a lot smarter. He hardly ever says much to us when we're talking to him. He's supposedly incredibly intelligent, and he seems that way because he has no trouble really with the X's and O's in terms of relaying that to his fellow players, et cetera, play calls, et cetera. But let's get to what Ryan had to say about what he sees different about Julian Sayin this spring compared to last spring. In these interview formats with Ryan, Will Pantages, I keep wanting to call him Pantages because I think it sounds cooler, but Pantages. He's the new sports information director for football. I think he's a pretty cool dude too. I like him. He's
that's a media liaison.
Well, because we got to know Jerry Emig and Mike Bassford extremely well. I consider both of them friends. I don't mind denying that. I don't mind admitting that. And I like Will, man. Will's got his act together. He got the big sign off from Ryan Day too when he took the job. But he came from Wake Forest, where he pretty much ran the whole sports information office. But we all know Ohio State football is a much larger beast than almost anything else in major college sports. But anyway, I digress. Hang on, let me throw you get called on one at a time to ask a question or maybe a quick follow. I'm trying to discipline myself by not doing the Tim May thing of asking a follow.
All right.
Very hard to do because some other people slipped and did their follows. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, he hadn't been here long. And I said today, how did you get all the names? Because he's the guy who calls on you.
Yeah.
Tim, you'll be our final question. So he said Twitter. I practice. I looked a month before I got here, and I started looking at all the
memorizing
names.
faces.
Bingo. And he hasn't missed a beat.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Less than a month in.
All right, then let's get to what Ryan Day had to say. We're going to play several little cuts here of what Ryan Day had to say. First about Julian saying, then about the offensive line. Like we said, it was missing Austin Cervell and Philip Daniels. They won't be around for the spring game either. They had little touch-up arthroscopic type surgeries just to fix a couple of things. And but we all know who's going to be in the mix in the fall. There's a good chance I think Cervell could have come back for the spring game, but why would you do that? Or spring extravaganza, scrimmage, whatever you want, bonanza.
They haven't laid out how it's going to be run, correct?
No, but it doesn't matter. It's just going to be a controlled scrimmage no matter what, probably. In some form or fashion, it will be a controlled scrimmage. So without further ado, let's get to Ryan Day, first talking about Julian saying.
Well, I think the first thing is just command of the whole operation, understanding that he's the guy that's in charge. We're constantly looking for him to, run the offense at a high level. And so the expectation is more than it was last year. Everything that he did last year was for the first time. This year we know what he can do, and so he's got to take those next steps. We talked before about, just the physicality of standing in the pocket, being able to escape and make plays with his feet when that's appropriate. But he's got to be at his best on third down and in the red zone. And in 2 minutes, we know we're going to have to win games in the fourth quarter looking at our schedule. So we need him to be on his stuff when it comes to that. And, when you're young, typically what happens is we try to protect the young quarterback through running the ball, defense, and all that. Well, he's not young anymore, so now he's got to help some of those other guys around him and make everybody on the field better.
Joey up front. You didn't see Austin or Phil out there at the tackle spots on Saturday. What's their status, and what do you think Ian and Carter did?
Yeah, it was good to see those guys get some reps and kind of get forced into it. And they'll be like that for the rest of spring. Those guys had a small procedure, but they'll be out for the rest of spring. But we'll be back for a full summer. But it's great to see both Ian and Carter have to step up in a big way. And again, it's one thing when you're the second guy or maybe the third for Carter, but now he's getting reps with the ones who's going against the best guys over on the other side.
He's referring to Carter Lowe, by the way, sophomore, and of course Ian Moore on the left side, Carter Lowe on the right side. They've gotten a baptism the last couple of practices. There was a baptism on Saturday to a certain extent.
Ian played,
Oh, yeah, he played
a lot.
Well, yeah. I mean, he went in for Austin Cervell, second quarter?
Yeah.
I think it was the second quarter against Miami because Austin Cervell had to leave the game. So let's get back to this little conversation.
The ball. So, this is a great opportunity for him, and he's got to take it and run. But it's not just the physical part, it's the mental part, being able to do it and then consistently do it over and over again. So I think this happened a couple of years ago. I know it happened a couple of years ago in preseason camp. We had some guys out in the offensive line. Some guys had to step up, and that paid off dividends down the road. So we need those guys to finish with these 2 really good weeks of work, and they'll be right at the point of attack. And so they need to really step up for us, because that not only are they playing for depth, but they're playing for starting positions. So, everything is on the board, and the more guys we have that can play, the more we're going to put them in a game. And we know it's a long season, as we talked about before, and playing multiple positions is important with the offensive line. But both of these guys right now are tackles, and then they need to step up in a big way. And Ian's into year 3, and Carter's now into year 2, and so what an opportunity for him the next couple of weeks.
Phil Landis in the center.
Ryan, continuing on the offensive line, I believe you guys have the most continuity in the country in terms of returning snaps from last year, at least in the Power 4. Did you assess the sport and understand more and more sort of the roster movement and things? How much value do you place on offensive line continuity, and how that influence whether or not you wanted to add via the portal this year?
Yeah, I think it's big when you have guys in your program for multiple years and you know where they're at. Guys really take big jumps in the offensive line. It was just how things slow down, the overall maturity, the understanding of the game, the experience, and just physically just growing into their bodies. It's really the most developmental position in tight ends that in my opinion, we have in college football. So when you see guys really step up and play really well in year 4 and 5, it's typically because of all those things, that the number of reps, the accumulation of these games starts to show up. Now, if we think that somebody athletically has tapped out and they can't get any better, that's another conversation. But the guys that we had coming back, we felt like they could continue to get better with these reps. And when you look at across the country, the trend in the last few years is when you have a veteran offensive line, typically, you're able to adjust things quickly, and guys are able to sustain throughout a season. So we're counting on these guys to continue to get better, but also having that experience count.
Yeah, it's interesting. If they could have gotten a big time player, I think in the offensive line situation in the portal,
yeah,
they probably would have gone that route. But they do like these young guys that are coming up. That's why it's too bad not seeing Josh Padilla this spring, because that right guard spot, Austin Saraville, they've had him there a few times in the spring, and including I think a week before this past Saturday, and moving guys around, maybe Philip Daniels down in there and stuff. So some of that experimentation is going to be lacking, for want of another term. But boy, I'm watching, for example, I'm watching Luke Montgomery. There were several plays on Saturday in that Student Appreciation Day scrimmage. We just manhandled the guy.
Yeah.
In front of him. I mean, he's a really good left guard now.
Yeah.
I mean, and of course, same thing with Carson Hinsman at center. What a good core that is. And that's why, like, if Ian Moore continued to progress, which a lot of people have been impressed by the way I understood it this spring, and you throw Austin Saraville back down into guard where we all expected him to play a year ago, until the Ethan Onyeonwa experiment didn't pan out and they had to move him to left tackle. But Austin Saraville at right guard, man, that's a man down in there.
Yeah. But that right guard spot, it's like you hit your thumb with a hammer and that thing is just,
yep. And then you hit it with a hammer again.
And so that's got to be solved. That has to be, and long way to go.
I didn't know that was the noise it made. I know it sounds like feels like the noise it should make. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Bottom line, every heartbeat, you can check your pulse by you just hit your thumb with a hammer.
Thank you, anyway, Dr. May.
Let's just get to more conversation, comments from Ryan Day.
Steven Claret.
You haven't asked you much about the special teams. First of all, what have been your impressions of Hunter Hawkins through these first few practices, and also where you think the special teams operation is in general heading into this season?
Well, Joey comes back, and so we need that presence there. We think that he gets the ball out quickly. He's solid. He needs to take the next step and continue to get a little bit more hang time and a little bit more, depth in terms of his punting.
Joey McGuire is the punter he's talking about. They had some things that could have been better last year and stuff. I thought he did okay.
There's room for improvement.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking for perfection anywhere. You're looking for perfection, especially at Ohio State. So we'll see how that goes. And he's also the holder on the kick team, PAT team. So you're a PAT and field goal kicking. There, I finally got it out.
But he gets it off quick, and brings a veteran presence there. We have two guys that were brought in, Dalton and Connor. Both older guys, both have been through it before. Dalton older than Connor, but both pros and how they approach the game. When we get around them, you'll see how very serious they are, and we're trying to put those guys in situations almost every day. Did it again today.
Speaking of situations,
you got to put them, under the microscope.
Speaking of situations,
okay.
Everybody surround the kicker. Everybody is surrounding the kicker. Everybody up. Everybody around Connor. Connor Hawkins, transfer kicker. This is for a full gasser for everybody in the indoor. Every single person. Go Connor. Full gasser. Defense back on your sideline. Everybody's got to watch out. Defense has got to run. Cut the music.
That's right. Defense has got to run.
Cut the music.
I don't know why. Defense has got to run. We don't know if it was because of the made field goal or because of the touchdown that Jeremiah Smith caught that was brought what on Monday was ruled not a touchdown, but that's neither here nor there. In a game, what's in the record book's in the record book. But I'll put you right there as close as I could, ladies and gentlemen, with my GoPro.
Good.
On a stick. I call it GoPro on a stick. And that was pretty cool because Ryan Day was just to the right there underneath him. And remember how Urban Meyer used to get right up next to the holder and stuff. And because it comes down to a kick. A lot of times in the big games, and we saw that's tough to even think about, but the Indiana game, very makeable 27-yard, I think it was, field goal attempt by Jaden Fielding went wide left. And he had a few other gaffes like that, but that's why you
keep that equates.
You keep that open door policy when it comes to kickers, much like the National Football League. When they get a good one, they hang on to him. But he misses 3 in a row, and they're looking for somebody else. But let's get back to what more of what Ryan Day was talking about.
Well, we want to see those guys operate because the games are going to come down to this, and we need these guys to step up in a big way. So Connor's somebody who's been clutch. We've seen that before when he was at Baylor. So he has experience making game-winning kicks and big kicks. So we know that's going to come up this season. And then when you look at Dalton, I think he's been the long snapper maybe for the last 2 Lou Barroso Award, either winners or finalists. He is very consistent. And that's, the operation of the snap and the hold is almost as important as the kick itself. So, all those things will come into play. And then we'll figure out the kickoff part as we get closer to preseason.
All right.
Ryan, last week in your press conference, I think you mentioned the word efficiency about 8 times, talking about the offense. But heading into this offseason, I know one of the other words was explosiveness that you were trying to get to. Heading into week 4 here at practice, have you seen the change that you wanted to see out of the offense? How much of that is structural? How much of that is just personnel? What are you seeing that gives you confidence that you're getting that?
Well, I think I've seen some of it in the pass game for sure. The run game, not as much. Legion's been out here for a couple of weeks. So we're hoping that he can give us some explosive play. Bo and Isaiah both, are out for the spring, and we really need those guys to get to the second level and make some people miss. They did a nice job as freshmen, but they're not freshmen anymore. I wish they were practicing this spring, but that is what it is. So I think we're going to continue to get them to the second level. They have to make people miss or run them over, and that's just the bottom line.
That's your new credo, isn't it?
That's my new mantra.
You like that more than anything else he said today.
I may go put that on a T-shirt.
Yeah, make them miss or run them over.
Run them over.
That's a pretty good
that is
credo. Good. As I said, make them miss and or run them over is what I would,
And
but
maybe double whammy.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, three
knock them out of their pajamas.
Three of their top guys can't go right now.
Well, I mean, Isaiah West and Bo Jackson, the 2 returning, ended up being the top 2 running backs at the end of the year last year.
Right.
C.J. Donaldson also was in that mix. Obviously, he's gone. He's available for the NFL draft, where he's projected. I'm not sure. But then the other guy was Legend Bay, freshman running back / wide receiver, quasi guy, came in with a lot of ballyhoo and looked the part for a while, but he's been banged up. So
can play a lot of positions.
Yes, but he brings explosiveness. He played quarterback in high school, and the reason is, in high school, where do you put your best player?
That's where you put him.
Yeah, and
in baseball,
in Texas, mound. And so we'll see where we'll see how it ends up with him and stuff. But yeah, they've been working with a motley crew, I guess you could call it, when it comes to running back this spring. So just what I was talking about a while ago, they're not going to really understand what they've got in the run game until maybe mid-August, if everybody comes back healthy for preseason camp, because 2 of your starters on the offensive line, you got to figure, are missing now from contact drills. Your 2 best running backs are both missing. And then, of course, like Legend Bay, who they really want to get into the mix. But, when you're sitting, somebody else is doing the knitting. And so you better not be quitting. I was trying to say it's something else. What else got to throw in there?
This guy is a wordsmith.
No, I'm not a wordsmith. But anyway, bottom line is, he's
a songwriter.
This is a moment when guys can step up and make a name for themselves, et cetera. So,
you bet.
Yeah, let's just continue what he has to say here, though, because I like press conferences because I think Ryan does a good job at press conferences of giving us some meat. You know what I mean?
Without question.
Not just fat, but some meat.
And if we do that, we're going to be explosive because then we're forcing guys to come down in the box and then we can be explosive throwing the football. I think we do have depth at receiver. I think guys are working on run after the catch more than ever. I think Arthur's doing a really good job of trying to be creative about the formations and the way that we can attack teams. So that's been good. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to in the run game, getting guys to the safeties and second level and making those guys miss and running them over. So, we can certainly come up with creative plays to be to do that. But really, it comes down to execution at the end of the day. And so we got to make sure that we're continually trying to get our guys in the right position to be successful. But like we're getting better at the techniques it takes because it's usually not like this exotic play that creates an explosive. We have to be on schedule so that we can take our shots and be ahead of the chains, as we know. But it isn't always shots that creates the explosive plays. A lot of it is effort in the perimeter and blocking. So transitioning in the run game. And that is another challenge for Cortez and the receivers is, getting to the second level and making those blocks because that's what turns good plays into great plays, whether it's in a pass where we can transition and make blocks or whether we're blocking the second level in the run game. That's it. Everybody's got to be a part of it. But we're seeing some explosive plays, and that's important. The combination of those two things are our focus.
Yeah, interesting. As I said to Cortez Hankton on a throwaway line near the end of our interview with him last week, he was talking about how Jeremiah Smith, things you can work on with him, the little things, things you get better at, like yak. You can always work on your blocking. Blocking can always improve. And I said something to him, like a smart aleck remark, which I use all the time. If people know me, I would love to have been Jesse Owens' track coach. Run, Jesse, run. But his point is, that's the point.
Yeah.
The thing is, like Ryan is saying there too, the play doesn't have to be perfect for you, the running back, to take it to the house.
No.
Or for you, the wide receiver, to take it to the house. You really want the help any place you can find it. But after a ball is caught out there, you've designed a play to get a guy open in some respects, to get him the ball in the right place. But now it's a function of other people coming and coming to the rescue. I mean, I know people are watching this going, duh, we know that. Blocking's all about, blocking is what it is about, blocking and tackling. That's what they always say. But it doesn't always work out that way. You've got to have people hell-bent in that regard. Once one guy has the ball in his hands, who am I going to knock out of the play? Things like that. But then you've also got to have that guy with the ball in his hands feel confident to make cuts, the ability to feel a confidence about if I go here, nobody's going to be there because I've studied this, et cetera. And that's hard to just develop in a person. A lot of running backs come along and they're really good. If you block the play 4 yards, they'll get you 4 yards. But the great ones are the jump cut dudes like J.K. Dobbins, Keith Byers, who can run you over, run you over. Ezekiel Elliott made people miss like you wouldn't believe, but would also run people over, challenged them in pass pro. I mean, he was as good a running back pass protection guy as I've ever seen at Ohio State. In my years of covering him now for 43, 44 seasons, going on 43, 44 seasons. But those things have to be almost innate, but you bring them along. You see Carlos Loughlin, man, always on his guys about different things you could have done better on that play. And I'm talking about the running backs. Cortez Hankton is the same guy in that respect. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
Well, there's a couple of things. Cortez Hankton, I think, sees a way to raise Jeremiah's game, because I think every time he catches a pass, he's got to go. I mean, he got tackled. What? He's Superman. And so I think he's like, hey, let's add 6-8 yards on top of what you just did, bringing that football in. And the same way, I mean, you're talking about Zeke. I mean, that's why he never came off the field with the Cowboys, because he could handle himself against these linebackers.
Back in the good old days, anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's coming around.
Yeah.
Dak's figuring this thing out, I think. Anyway.
Agree. Speaking of explosive plays, though, one of the best ones was that catch by Jeremiah Smith and Adam King. with inside knowledge, obviously, but facetiously asked Ryan about the upon further review thing on that. Let's see what Ryan had to say. Is pretty funny.
Quick sidebar, was there a review of the final play there, the touchdown from Jeremiah? What was the consensus there?
Yep, there was a review, and under further review, and it was it came from a bunch of different angles. There was a lot of controversy. We actually asked who ultimately made the final decision. We did not get that disclosed to us, so we actually called the office to figure out who makes the decisions on instant replay. We never got anything back, so we were frustrated about that. But the call was overturned. Yeah.
The offense, did they have to run?
So they had to run today.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the further review, it was overturned. So.
Did you run?
Huh?
Did you run?
I did not run.
Oh,
No.
you know,
Probably Bobby Carpenter did. Just joking. Bobby Carpenter was out there running with the defense
was.
on Saturday, which was pretty funny.
Yep.
Yeah, let's it's interesting because all these things, they matter. Guarantee you when they got overturned, Jeremiah Smith was upset about it. Agreed?
Yeah, I would think. But he took it well. And
How do you know? You weren't there.
I was there.
No, I'm saying
Oh,
when it got overturned.
Oh,
That got
well.
overturned like yesterday or today.
Yeah.
So I just want to be truth in journalism here. You
Truth
weren't
in
there.
Advertising.
You weren't there when it got overturned for sure.
Well, he made.
Yeah, and back to explosive stuff. A guy that clearly has caught everybody. I don't know if they caught him by surprise. He was a 3-star, but what does 3-star mean? He's from South Lake Carroll High School in Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, one of the fabled high school programs in the great state of Texas. And obviously Quinn Ewers was from there. Been a lot of big-time players come out of there. But we're talking about Brock Boyd.
That's a high 3-star is what I would say.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that translation came from, but he committed to Ohio State, was fired up about it. I tried to get him on my podcast a couple of times. We didn't work things out when he was in high school, but he's from a really cool family down there. And I think he's got a brother that plays at Texas Tech or played at Texas Tech. But this guy, man, it's just, I don't know how to explain it. He's fast. He's quick. There's two differences there.
Yeah.
He catches everything you throw to him. And like I've been talking about on radio and even on here, this wide receiver room is deeper than you think, because a lot of people thought with the guys that went off in the portal and losing Carnell Tate that, hey, where's that depth going to come from? Is it going to be relying on Chris Henry Jr. coming in, the ballyhooed guy, a 5-star guy? But no, here's a Brock Boyd 3-star. And he was the first freshman in this 2026 recruiting class to lose his black stripe, which is a big deal.
I mean, it's not JJ, it's not Jeremiah, but the kids who swarmed him once the scrimmage was over, and pictures, it went on for several minutes. And I even had, that's Brock Boyd. Okay. Yeah, they were loving him.
Yeah. But hey, let's get to what Ryan has to say about Brock Boyd, just about that phenomenon.
He's bringing a mature approach. He goes hard every play. He's very smart in how he gets open. He's a good route runner. He understands multiple positions and just plays fast every play. And, just looks very confident in what he does. And he's a good example of people who prepare at a high level, can play fast because they're anticipating as opposed to reacting. And he looks very decisive when he's out there, and then just has great natural ability to catch the ball. Very competitive, great mindset, fun to be around, great body language, all the above.
Stephon on the right.
You guys have a couple guys in this transfer class who aren't just one-year guys like Will or Quinchon were. Like, when you look at this draft and Davison and Will Kesmer, being prospects, just what do you think you guys can prove about the developed here mantra, not necessarily only applying to guys who recruited and started their careers here? Like, what do you think Davison and Will, Kesmer can kind of add to what you guys are trying to sell to transfers?
Well, I think when you talk to guys like Davidson or Will, Quinchon, guys who have been in the program for a year or two, they can kind of do the talking for you as opposed to a coach. My son's being recruited by, some of these schools, and I go on these visits, and I kind of tell our staff, all coaches sound the same. they say the same thing over and over again. I think the thing that's different about Ohio State is we have the testimony to actually back it up. And we have the statistics to back it up. When you talk about the winning record, you talk about the stability, you talk about the development and what goes on here. We're very proud to say that I think we major in developing the elite athlete and preparing them for what's next, not only on the field but in life, but on the field as well. And, maybe there's another team out there that has both coordinators who are former NFL head coaches. I don't think they do. And that's, a tribute to Ross and our board to be able to go get the best people here and bring them in and pay them because they're pouring into our players. And so when you come into Ohio State, you're going to be surrounded by the best. You're going to be on the biggest stage. You're going to be surrounded by great people and then players with the same mindset. And I think that matters as well. If you want to know where you're going, just look around at who you're hanging with. And if you're trying to keep pace with these guys every day, it's only going to make you better. So guys like Davidson and Will who come in from other programs, they just get a feel for that. And I love asking them. And I think it's always a good question to ask some of the guys who come from different programs, even for you guys. So what's the difference between Ohio State and where you were? It's always good to get that feedback, and perspective back. But, we're proud of that and how we set it up and excited to see where those guys end up here in a couple weeks.
Just to follow up on that real quick, when you're looking at guys in the portal, I know, everything's so, you're focused on the 2026 season, but do you look at the opportunities of having someone for multiple years and not just having a one-year transfer? Is that something you have to weigh when you're going through that process?
Yeah. And it kind of depends sometimes on, all right, once this year's over, what does next year look like? And are we able to just bring in a one-year guy? Do we need a two-year guy? And then sometimes, the two-year guys end up leaving after their first year. So you're never quite too sure. But yeah, we're trying to project 2 and 3 years out, which is not easy when you're plugging guys in. And then when there's a hole, it needs to get filled, and that typically is filled in the portal.
We're going to have 2 more. Bill up front.
As you said, there's no replacing Caleb Downs, but you brought in 2 veteran guys, Earl Lowe you mentioned, and Terry Moore. Earl's obviously made an impact. What is it about him that has stood out to you, and where is Terry? Obviously, he had a knee injury last year. Where is he right now?
Yeah, no, having a good start to spring. Both of those guys. I'm really glad that we brought those guys in. And talking about the culture and talking about making sure we have the right guys. Earl was at Bama with those guys, with Caleb and with James and with Quay. And so he also grew up with Brandon and Jeremiah and those guys in South Florida. They knew of each other and spent a lot of time together. So we knew what we were getting there. His dad is great. Then Terry, he was with Matt Guerrieri at Duke. So he knew exactly what we were getting there. So that's an important part of all of this, and we knew what type of players they were. And they've been simulating really quickly, understand the defense. They're smart players, really good in space. So we're excited. We're just getting started, but they're off to a great start.
Bottom line, it helps if you turn your microphones on. Bottom line is, you had to go out and get some guys for that secondary, and just run them down the line. I think they've hit some home runs in this. The proof will be in the pudding.
That's
obviously
true. That's
the
true.
12-game regular season, and what they hope is at least a 4-game postseason. But the bottom line is, I like Little and Moore. As I've reminded people, Moore was hurt last year, at Duke. But he has a prior relationship with Matt Guerrieri when Matt Guerrieri was there a few years ago. And these guys are both older players too.
They are.
They know where to line up. They kind of understand what's expected of them, and they don't mind telling others, how to line up, et cetera. But I really like that set on. I think we talked about that on the Clay May report we put up after these practices and stuff. We talked about how there were 3 safeties on the field on a couple of those defensive reps that included Jalen McClain one time walking up to the line of scrimmage where those other 2 guys arrayed in different places and stuff. Life doesn't just go on without Caleb Downs. It must go on. Caleb Downs isn't going to come back and play the way I understand it. And so
Earl Little looks like a beast.
I didn't mean to snort there, but sometimes I just I laugh at my own stupid comments. But yeah, Earl, I just think Earl Little looks like a big time player, but so does Terry Moore. Yep. And those were 2 pluses so far, in my opinion, in the transfer portal. We didn't hit everything Ryan talked about. I want to get some video with just him talking about James Smith, the defensive tackle who lost his black stripe on Saturday, the transfer from Alabama. I'm going to get some of that, and also the interview that we had with James Smith a week or so ago maybe run that on Wednesday. I mean, the kid who transferred in, like I said, from Alabama and got into the comments, a few comments about, basically what's the difference between the two places, et cetera. And I keep reminding people, and I know it gets ad nauseum. And bottom line is, how many national championship have you won? It always comes down to that. Alabama won 114 under Nick Saban, and
a few.
Ohio State has won 3 this century, 2002, 2014, and of course 2024. But the bottom line is, Ohio State is in the running for a premier program in the country right now. It would be one of the top 5. Well, that's understatement in my opinion, for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
But when you get 2 guys who are on the Alabama roster, not because Nick Saban retired, which is what happened with Caleb Downs. Seth McLaughlin had already left Alabama before Nick Saban announced his retirement. But when you get to, and then of course, Julian Sayin left. So those are some pretty good pickups from Alabama. Then you throw in there Quay Russaw, defensive end, who's gotten some edge guy who's gotten some pub this spring. And James Smith, for example, 2 guys that would help any defense, in my opinion. Maybe not starters, maybe depth, but would help any defense in the country. You've got them transferring from Alabama to you.
Yeah. Says a lot.
Some kind of worm has turned. And I'll just leave it at that. And you don't turn them down either, and Carlos Lachlan likes to brag that both of them are also from the same place he's from originally, Montgomery. Alabama.
Yeah.
So, so we'll get to that. We'll get to that little conversation me and other media members had with James Smith on Wednesday's show, and a few things Ryan Day has said about him. Because when you lose your black stripe, it means
you've arrived.
You're a bona fide Buckeye.
There you are.
Hey, you got a little breaking news as we sit here, because we talked about that North Carolina job. What you got going there?
Yeah, just a few minutes ago. This is a tweet labeled "Sources" from ESPN's Pete Thamel. North Carolina intends to hire longtime NBA coach Michael Malone as the school's next basketball coach. He's an NBA championship coach with the Denver Nuggets 22-23 season and has won 510 games as an NBA head coach. I don't have his resume in front of me, but it clearly...
Hey, wait a minute. Google him. No, I'm messing with you. Just Google him.
So maybe he was a JV player at Carolina many years ago. But I'm not aware of that, but it looks like they've gone outside the family. If I had a little more time here, I would
you just
look
wonder.
that up. But that's interesting. After a lot of names surfaced, and I really thought Dusty May would get a hell of a look. But
you just wonder, though, conversations going on. That's not they hired who?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, not at all.
It's more of, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't know that about his background. I mean, I don't watch the NBA.
Right.
I watch the championship series usually. I watch a little NBA every now and then. I mean, I watched Kevin Durant drive to the hoop last night.
Yep.
When I'm flipping through, it catches my attention for a little while. But playing for Houston, what's that? His 18th team? No, I'm just joking. But
yeah.
But when you said Michael Malone, I actually went like this.
Who's that?
Watch me. Who? It wasn't who.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, good for them.
Yeah.
It's a big time hire, meaning, boy, you hope you got it right.
Yeah, man.
But Hubie Davis took his team to the Final Four, a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
Former player at North Carolina.
First or second year.
And how soon they forget. I don't know if forget.
Man.
I mean, North Carolina was a little bit of a house fire at times, especially after they lost the young kid, Caleb, the young kid, the freshman, Caleb White, was that his name? But anyway, it's too bad. It's too bad that happened for him, because, man, you can lose one basketball player and it really affects your team. You lose a football player, that's 1/22 of your team,
Right.
of the starting lineup, not counting special team members. You lose a big time basketball player and he's 1/5.
Yeah.
That's huge. And especially if he's your big time player, that's like almost 2/5. That's what stood out about Michigan the other night, though, man. Yaxel goes off, and they just kept the thunder and lightning coming on Arizona, where it clearly doesn't thunderstorm very often. Arizona had no idea what to do with a thunderstorm. Agreed?
No question.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, they're up 18.
Yeah.
They're up 24. They're up. Oh my gosh.
And then they started playing people, and the rest is history. So I've got Michigan tonight in the national championship game, which once again would give the Big Ten a sweep of the three biggies in college sports, NCAA sports, which are men's and women's basketball and football. 3 national championships spread across the board. UCLA. Just when you thought UCLA was just a hangers-on when they came into the league, they're going to deliver. They delivered a women's national championship, and they beat the hell out of South Carolina.
Woo! I mean, yeah, that was another one yesterday.
They
got up to 30.
Yeah, and so anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tim May. That's Clay Hall. What you got?
No, Michael Malone, college, Loyola of Maryland, coaching in the NBA forever. But Oakland was an assistant, Providence, Manhattan, and then on to the NBA. So I don't see any Carolina roots there. That's interesting.
I'm a little bit surprised.
I'm flummoxed.
Flummoxed may not be the right word, but close.
Close.
But I guess in this age of transfer portal and NIL, it helps to have a guy who's made deals in some form or knows how to build a roster. Maybe that's it.
Knows talent.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
I know one thing. I'm just wondering if they got the word from behind the scenes, from for example, Dusty May, his agent maybe forwarded the idea that he's not interested. Because, once you got it going at a place and it's a blue blood, I mean, I think Michigan's a blue blood.
Yeah. Why?
They're a blue blood in athletics. Let's put it that way.
You're right. Why would he walk away? Yeah.
The Fab Five, one of the things I agreed with the Fab Five about is they do deserve a spot somewhere in the College Basketball Hall of Fame. In the College Basketball Hall of Fame, in terms of changing the atmosphere, the climate around college basketball when they were around. Obviously, they got nailed for the improprieties that went on for NCAA rules, which of course now would be that's all they got.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the rules were the rules back then and stuff. But they changed it. They changed who coaches would go after. They were the first. They were the first all freshman lineup. I remember them talking about this last night to score all of the points.
Yep.
In a game, and I think it was at Illinois, if I remember correctly. Back, and I don't remember the year, but they scored. They were the only ones who scored for Michigan in that game.
Yeah, I heard.
And they won the game, and that was
incredible.
That's crazy when you think about it. 5 freshmen
and the baggy shorts. They were fashion stuff.
Oh yeah, and the short socks.
Right.
And right on down the line, the black short socks. But anyway, it is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tim May. That's Clay Hall. We'll be back to talk a lot more about Ohio State football as these next week and a half they build toward the spring game of the spring bonanza or the spring jamboree sooner rather than later, coming up on April the 18th. And but until then, this is,
we appreciate you.
We do appreciate you. And until then, we'll see you then.